Good morning, welcome to Morning Review. This is Kim Watson speaking on Tuesday, the 31st of May. Okay, looking at euro dollar first, and it appears that the bounce off the daily 200 seems to have held yesterday, and we just sort of floating around a little bit. We've run up to the weekly pivot and reacted off that at the moment. We're sort of stuck between a weekly and the monthly S2 at the moment. Where will it run to today? Well, it's weird switching from a daily and 4 hourly, which both look relatively bearish. If you get to the 60-minute, it doesn't look quite so bearish, and I'm wondering whether with what we're seeing here, we'll see a bounce, a bit more of a bounce off the daily pivot that we've seen got hit below us here. It is There are very mixed signals in looking at terms of what's going on. The 21s are just hooking around still. The 50 is still facing south. Got a 34 in a positive favour, hence why it's rather mixed. We could end up with a bit of a hammer or something here, which again would be sort of for the upside. So it is a very mixed market at the moment. What we have done here, we put a higher high in, higher low in, but then we've just put this low in, which is lower than the prior high low. So again, there's positives and negatives in where we're seeing at the moment, and we may just have to watch. Taking into account the euro was pretty poor for most of last week in terms of early trading and very choppy in the mornings. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. Of course, Friday just managed to sell by the looks of things here properly. Yesterday, well, again had some movement yesterday, so at least it did have a bit of movement. We'll see how it runs here. But for now, as I say, it's well, if we break to the downside, we've just got to watch this for fake outs. But if it starts breaking to the downside here, maybe it'll be worth an option to the downside, although we've already hit the R1, which makes the S1 look a bit less likely. If we can get above the 21s, well, we may be bullish for a double top and maybe a bit more. We'll see. Okay, Cable started off, it's yesterday found support on the 8 moving average again, daily 8, pushing back up towards the sort of 46 or 47 area rather, and it's done that this morning through early trading. I was looking for the poll results, which because when you see this overnight, you think, well, the poll results must have come out really well. And the only ones I could find were from yesterday's Telegraph results, unless there's some more being released, and I haven't seen them. And they were a little bit more closer for the exits rather than the stays. So a bit of a surprising move there through the Asian session, but it has obviously run through quite strongly through the day. Now, as I say, the poll was a bit closer for the exits. Maybe if anything was to go by what we saw last week, every time we saw something going for the exits, we saw, or the polls positive later in the morning, we'd see the reaction. Well, we've got an untouched daily pivot here. There is the possibility. There was also sell stops apparently in the market. I was reading somewhere above this area as well. I haven't looked at my own analysis on that yet this morning, but it would make sense there would be sell stops around these sort of areas and maybe slightly higher at the 47.40 area. Okay, so really, just looking, we may get support of the 60-20s if it does start selling off some more. Just need to watch this. But a bit of an undecided market when it's done so much through this morning. But if it starts selling off, I'll look for opportunities to go with, looking at that daily pivot for a target. Dollar yen. Well, dollar yen started moving again yesterday and pushed up quite significantly. A bit of a gap that looks like that there might have been. Certainly was a gap from the close to the open there. It's well, at the moment, consolidating a little bit more again, short term. We've pushed up, got a bit messy where it sits here. Maybe continued push above these highs here would see us running up towards the R1, back into yesterday's highs, R1 sort of territory. Any sort of more proper sell-off, I'd need to see it below the 60-20s to be looking for the short side potentially. But I'd rather not be on the short side of this market. So with the trend and everything else, I'd rather be waiting just for a long. Aussie dollar. Well, we've curled around a little bit here. Yesterday put a doji in. Today we've seen a good solid move up through the Asian session there the last 4 hours, maybe getting towards the overbought signals. Yeah, definitely into overbought signals on the analyses here at the moment. And again, it's pushed up quite strongly on that 2 o'clock candle. So looking around where we are here, it could see some sort of retracement from this morning, maybe back towards the 60-20s. It's been quite some, as I say, quite some sell-off, some buying going on through the Asian session. Just need to come back, have a look, one more look. Yeah, we're back into that daily 200, but it's already been tested. So it'd be interesting if it did start pushing up. We'd maybe see the 4-hourly 100 and maybe the daily 21. However, as I say, slightly overbought in the short term. Right, okay, the Aussie dollar, finally the Canadian dollar. And it's got a little bit more choppy, but the overall we're seeing higher lows on this daily still running up. And however, it's not putting a higher high this time so much, and I'm just wondering if it's stalling where we are. However, as I read this morning, I forgot about this, and always used to make me smile a bit. We're starting to move into the US driving season, which is a point where generally we see oil prices start moving a little bit as the demand in the US goes up, and it certainly pushes the price at the pump in the US up. But well, that's started, so it'll be interesting to see if the demand for oil flies up a little bit more. I'm just going to flick onto oil here. It has been pushing up pretty well and holding close to that $50 mark. Almost expected a bigger sell-off and a reaction to the $50 mark. The fact it hasn't may suggest that it's got some better more chance of pushing up. Now, generally, that should bring the Canadian dollar down, which it hasn't, and it's just sort of pure weakness here and strength of the US dollar, I guess. So where we're sitting at the moment from an hourly perspective, well, we're just short of the daily pivot, which is above us yet. So any rallies may be into that, but it's you're not talking massive points from where we're sitting at the moment. 20 pips maybe or so may run up there. If oil continues, you can see oil underlined here with this darkish grey line here. If this continues pushing to the upside, well, maybe we'll see the Canadian dollar pushing back down, starting to move back south again. It has a double pivot to sit here, which may provide a bit of support with that confluence. But if it breaks down that sort of level, well, it could be on. We're below all the other majors, the 200, the 50, 100, etc. So it could have an easier route back south again. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. The news-wise today, there's not a significant amount of new data coming out. We've already had data overnight. The Aussie dollar, well, part of the reason that pushed up was strong building approvals, suddenly helping out there, but that might just be a overnight sensation. Looking beyond that, there's little in the way. We've got Canadian GDP. It comes out each month anyway, so it's has less significance, although it may give a bit of volatility to the Canadian dollar later. There's some lower level European data coming out again, may give the euro a bit of a kicker. But aside of that, it's looking pretty light on the markets until probably 1:30. The other data, there was some lower key US data, but there is the core PCE price action, which is the personal inflation. So if we see a kick up there, one way or the other, it may give a bit of a boost to US dollar if we see that figure coming in a bit higher, and personal spending coming in there as well. So both of those figures may give the US dollar a bit of a booster. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you have a great one. I'll catch you in the morning.